the end of the day when the decision is announced, this kind of thing. Let's go to the audio sound bites, because they're quite illustrative. Nina Totenberg, who is the Supreme Court reporter for National Public Radio. And she's another one of them here. All the smart people, all of the big kids in the clique, all of the super educated members of this clique, and they never talk to anybody outside it. Like Chris Matthews, on his show last, actually said that the idea that this thing may be unconstitutional never occurred to him. Never occurred, meaning he never once for a fleeting moment considered that it was unconstitutional. Pelosi the same way. She was asked some months ago about constitutionality. She was genuinely stumped. She looked at the reports, cocked her head. Are you serious? In their minds, it's constitutional because it's their idea. And because they think it's filled with compassion. Justice Kagan. We haven't played this soundbite, and I don't know that we've had it, and I'm not looking for it. Cookie, I can handle it here. Elena Kagan said during oral argument, what is the big deal here? All we're doing is throwing a boatload of money at the states and saying, here, use it for health care for poor people. This is a justice on the Supreme Court, and that's what she thinks is in the 2,700 pages. And she wrote the administration's defense of this for the Solicitor General. She used to be the Solicitor General. She has no business even hearing this case, by the way. She should have recused. But she summed up in a couple or three lines the entire leftist view of this. What's wrong with it? All we're doing is throwing a boatload of money at the states and saying, here, go ahead and give health care to poor people. That's what she thinks this bill is. That's what Matthews thinks it is. That's what Nina Totenberg thinks it is. That's what Jeffrey Toobin thought it was. The idea that that's unconstitutional, that the federal government can't throw, and boatloads of money was her phrase. From the bench, in America's courtroom, Justice Kagan, throw boatloads of money at the states. What's the problem here? That's what Jeff Toobin thought. That's what these are the smartest people in the world, folks. I'm trying to tell you, they aren't. They're not even curious. They are living in a prison of their own conceit and of their own arrogance. Pelosi just said yesterday about Obamacare, we wrote a bill that honored the Constitution. We wrote a bill that is constitutional. How does she know? She never read it. You realize how few people who are deciding the fate of this bill will have read it? The point I made yesterday. Nobody. Not one justice has read 2,700 pages. Most of the people who voted for it have not read it. Now, we have people who have, on the right. We've read it. That's why we know what's in it. Pelosi doesn't know what. Elena Kagan doesn't know what's in it. And she was at the Solicitor General's office for Obama before Verrilli, working on the defense of this case, both at the appellate level and at the Supreme Court. And Chris Matthews, the thought that it's unconstitutional never occurred to me. It's like Juan Williams, who heard Lord Monckton from the UK present the case against man-made global warming. Juan Williams, I never knew this existed. I didn't know anybody disagreed with it. Didn't know. Here's a guy working at Fox News who didn't know that there are people who disagree with the notion of man-made global warming. We're led to believe here that Nina Totenberg, who you'll hear in a second here, Chris Matthews, don't even know that there are people who oppose it because it's not constitutional. They were genuinely rocked off their core this week. This was no act. Jeffrey Toobin, plane wreck, train wreck. This was no sleight of hand. They, for the first time in their exalted existence, heard principled opposition to the constitutionality of this bill, which to them is no more than boatloads of money to the states so they can give health care to the poor. You could call them provincial. New Yorkers are highly provincial. One thing I learned when I moved there in 1988, New York is the largest market, biggest city, the focus of everything, the center of everything. But even the New York Post, any newspaper in New York, the Oshkosh, Marcia Clark. This is a great example. Marcia Clark, who tried the O.J. case, she spent 5 minutes in Long Island one day. That was the focal point of the story in the New York papers. She was a New Yorker trying the O.J. case. That's how provincial they are. And the liberals are the same way. They're just provincial. Their world is it. There is nothing else. And they're not even curious about what else there is. Yeah, you and I, we see this and we can't believe it. Because not only can we explain what we believe, we can explain what they believe. We know what animates them. We know what they believe. And that's why we can skunk them in any issue or idea argument that comes down the pike. They have no clue. They are just as insulated as somebody in prison. Let's get this at Totenberg here. This morning on MSNBC's Daily Rundown, and this is F. Chuck Todd's show. He's the NBC political director. He says a lot of panic at the White House, to be frank. They really thought this wasn't going to be that hard of a case. They knew that there was a lot of politics around it, but they really thought, looking at it, they'd get as many as 7 votes in their favor. And now they're biting their fingernails. Should they be biting their fingernails, Nina?
They should be biting their fingernails. The White House was right not to worry about it way back when. The entire legal community, except for, I would say, the really hardcore.
Very minority of the legal community, right?
Everybody, including conservatives, thought, oh, this case is a piece of cake.
So all the so-called smart people, the entire legal community, other than the hardcore types, which is 70% of the American people, by the way. The people she's talking about, the hardcore right way, that's 70% of the American people. Nina Totenberg and her group are the ones in the very small minority. Oh, yeah. Everybody, including conservatives, thought this case was a piece of cake. To the extent that conservatives thought it was a piece of cake, not legally. If there were any conservatives who thought this thing was a piece of cake constitutionally, it's because of the faith in the legal system we've lost, not in the merits of the law. And I should also add, there are a lot of conservative legal people, media people in Washington and New York who want to impress people like Nina Totenberg. So they went around, oh yeah, Obamacare, easy, slam dunk. See, I'm as open-minded and smart as you are. Will you invite me to your next party? Or whatever. But these are the ones, Nina, totally out of touch. Peggy Noonan has a column today in which she sort of says, you know, this guy is not the guy I thought he was, meaning Obama. Not the guy I thought he was. Not so smooth operator. And there's one line in her column here. How did the constitutional law professor from the University of Chicago not notice that his centerpiece legislation was unconstitutional? She's very curious. Ask that question. Why? How does Obama not know? Well, the answer is he doesn't care. The answer is it's okay if it's unconstitutional. He doesn't care. The Constitution is an obstacle to him. His surprise, if he is indeed surprised, his surprise is that the opposition here has a chance.